Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome and Jai Bhim. So, thank you for joining this event. So, first of all, happy Independence Day. So, today, on behalf of IMC and our partners, we are hosting the celebration of 74th Independence Day virtually, unfortunately, because of COVID-19 issues. And hopefully, we will have a great event and we have a great line of speakers. So let me move on here. So as you see, we have a very prominent speakers from all over the world. So first, we have a special message from, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. And also we have Mr. Harsh Mandar from India. He'll be having a very precise speech on this occasion. And also we have Miss Ladida and Miss Aisha, who are the face of the various protests we have seen in India and worldwide. And then we have our dynamic program MC, Miss Amina as well. So, and plus we have our coalition partners from Hindus for Human Rights, as well as Ambedkar International Center, and as well as Coalition of Seattle Indian Americans. And along with that, we will have a special remark with the president of IAMC, Mr. Ehsan Khan. And again, our supporting partners are the Hindus for Human Rights, Ambedkar International Center, as well as Coalition of Seattle Indians. So today's event and agenda will be pretty tight. So I hope we will have pretty exciting speeches and talk from various experts and various activists throughout the world. So obviously we'll start with the virtual flag hosting. It's unfortunate we cannot do physical, so we'll start with that. And the virtual flag hosting, there will be a national anthem. And again, if you are able to stand up, please do that. And we'll go from there. Then we will have Brother Harsh Mandar, who will be speaking to us from India, as well as Sister Aisha and Sister Ladida, and they are the face of the protest against CA and RC, what we have seen last year. Then we'll have a special message from Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal, and then our president of IMC, Brother Ehsan Khan, will have his comments as well. Then we'll also go through, in this tough times, IMC has a pretty wide outreach program with various coalition partners. So we'll go through some of those achievements, what we have done as a small token of appreciation. Then we will have Sister Sujata from CSIA, Coalition of Seattle Indians, will speak with us. Then there is a very interesting art for Shaheen Bagh. So our Sister Amina will go through that art. It's very, very, very different way of, expressing the freedom of expression. So it's a very nice collection of arts. Then Brother Rajiv from Human Rights. And then lastly but not the least, Brother Anil from Ambedkar International Center will give us his views. And then we have some exciting awards. We have a few competitions, and we'll go through that. So hang tight. Don't go away from our event. It will be very exciting. So let's start with the flag hosting. So again, in this time, we have to do virtual flag hosting. So this is one of the biggest flag in India. I think it is number 2 or number 3. It's like a 291 meter long pole, and the size of the flag is almost 9,600 square feet. So we can have 2-3 homes, what we can build on that. So it's very incredible. And there you go. So we have hosted our flag, and please now stand up for a national anthem.
भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय
Thank you all again. Happy Independence Day. And again, we don't want to, forget our freedom fighters, and there is a small tribute for them.
सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा हम बुलबुले हैं इसकी ये गुलसिता हमारा हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा
Okay, so with that, I would like to hand over to our program MC, Sister Amina. She's the youth leader of IMC national team, and she has a fantastic track record of hosting such events. So with that, Sister Amina, floor is to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining. Welcome, everyone. I'd love to welcome you to today's event. Happy Independence Day. And we're all here to celebrate our heritage, our culture, our country, and because of our patriotism. And with that talk of patriotism, recently, I personally have been feeling extremely confused, and at this crossroads of is my patriotism justified? And I know that must be a heavy question, and perhaps some of you may relate to it, but because of the persecution of minorities in India, and because my people, because Muslims are at the forefront of that, right? They are the biggest victims of the persecution of minorities in India. I felt very confused, right? Am I proud? And usually when I feel like this, I go to activists who've been doing this for far longer than I have, who probably have been doing this before I was even born. And I always say, right, it's the guidance of the elders and the passion of the youth that actually creates change. So I went to one of these elder activists and she told me, Amina, only those who love their country will speak up when there's injustices in that country because of their love for that country. And that hit me, and it made me realize that all of us, that we are raising our voices because we see in India that is actually democratic, that is actually secular, not just on paper, but in its actions, in its policies. And that's why we stand up. That's why we raise our voices. So in conclusion, I came to that, our patriotism is justified, and we should be patriotic, and we fight because we love our country. And I think that the activists that we have on our panel today further just prove that, raising our voices show that we care, show that we love. And without further ado, I'd like to have our first speaker, Brother Harsh Mandir. Brother Harsh Mandir is an Indian author, columnist, researcher, teacher, and social activist who works with survivors of mass violence and hunger, as well as homeless persons and street children. He's the director of the Center for Equity Studies, a research organization based in New Delhi. He also served as special commissioner to the Supreme Court of India in the Right to Food campaign, and was a member of the National Advisory Council of the Government of India. Many consider him to be the Gandhi of the modern era. His Karwan-e-Muhabbat is a people's campaign for solidarity that supports survivors of hate crimes with legal, social, and livelihood help. And Brother Harsh Mandir, we thank you for your work, and we'd like to welcome you.
Thank you, all of you. Happy Independence Day. It's It's wonderful to be sharing this moment with sisters, brothers, and young friends uh, across the world. Um, when I say Happy Independence Day, I say it reflectively uh, because it is a very important moment, but it's also a very difficult moment in the journey of our republic. And we stand at a crossroads in our country today where the values of our freedom struggle, and indeed, in many ways, freedom itself uh, is deeply threatened. Uh, we stand at a crossroads uh, in which we will have to resolve the actions that we take in India, uh, and indeed for people who love India around the world, will decide what country we will leave to our children. Um, so let me start by remembering what was finest in our freedom struggle. Uh, and in fact, a battle that started almost exactly 100 years ago. It was a little over 100 years ago that Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa, and he took leadership of our freedom struggle. And in the 3 decades that he led us to freedom, uh, it's important to remember that the struggle was not just about uh, freeing ourselves from British colonial bondage. That was one part of our struggle. But equally, our freedom struggle throughout was about what kind of country would we build after the British left us. And central to the idea of India uh, that was promised in the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, and it was an idea for which ultimately he paid with his own life. It was an idea of an India which would belong equally to people of every faith, a country of equal and humane and inclusive citizenship, a country where it would not matter which god you worship, or if you worship no god. It would not matter what your caste was, what your language, what your gender, what your wealth. Uh, it would not matter what language you speak. You would be in every way, an equal citizen of this proud land. That was that was the core idea of our freedom struggle, and indeed civilizationally the idea of India itself. But all these 100 years, there has been another completely contrasting imagination for India. Uh, Around 100 years ago, the Hindu Mahasabha was constituted, and in 1925, the RSS was constituted. And they waged another battle through this struggle. Interestingly, they participated very little in the freedom struggle against British colonialism. Their battle was for building a very different India, an India uh, of a Hindu supremacist idea for the Hindu nation, an India in which of the Hindu majority, indeed of the caste Hindu majority, in which Muslims, Christians, and indeed Dalits, Adivasis would have to live, would be allowed to live, but only as second-class citizens. And and this was an imagination very strongly influenced by German fascist nationalism and the writings of the RSS uh, elaborate their great admiration for Hitler and his version of of a great nation. And so these ideas were contesting with each other. And then a third idea came up as well. Uh, there was the Muslim League led by uh, Muhammad Ali Jinnah Sahab. And Jinnah Sahab maintained that India was not one but two countries, a Muslim Pakistan and a Hindu Hindustan. And he fought and ultimately uh, succeeded in creating two countries out of one. It was a very traumatic moment when India became free. Uh, Rivers of blood were flowing. 1 million people had died in Hindu Muslim riots. My own family was among the millions who were displaced. My parents are from Rawalpindi, now in Pakistan. And in that time, I think the finest moments of our freedom struggle, actually, to my mind, the most precious was what happened at that time, the choices we made as a nation. Uh, when India actually became free, Mahatma Gandhi was not in Delhi to participate uh, in the celebrations. He was in Calcutta, uh, and shortly after he went on a epic 40-day fast because there was enormous bloodshed, and Hindu Muslim riots were at their peak. And he said he would not eat a single grain until uh, until the last of this violence ended. And it was an extraordinary time when people describe how he, little by little, the hatred came down. And after 40 days, uh, when finally peace came to Calcutta, uh, Lord Mountbatten at that time said that what my 55,000 armed soldiers could not accomplish in Punjab, this one man with his frail body and his will, and I would say his love, succeeded in accomplishing. That, for me, is the greatest legacy of our freedom struggle. Mahatma Gandhi then came to Delhi. Uh, he had a plan, actually. He said that he would then go to Pakistan without a visa and campaign equally for peace and goodwill there. But when he came to Delhi, he found Delhi in flames with so much anger and so much hatred. And refugees like my own extended family had come. They were angry. And it was a time when it was very easy for India to say that we would become a mirror image of Pakistan and we would be a Hindu, India for the Hindus. But Mahatma Gandhi was completely insistent. Jawaharlal Nehru in the Constituent Assembly said, answered the basic question, who who will this country belong to? And he said, anyone who chooses this country is theirs. And when Maulana Azad stood on the ramparts of Jama Masjid and spoke about, he said, I'm proud to be a Muslim and I'm proud to be an Indian, and I will not allow anyone to separate these two parts of my identity. This is my country and I will remain here. And Gandhiji's last fast, 2 weeks before he was assassinated, was precisely for this idea. He had three demands. One of them was uh, uh, there was a certain amount of money that was promised to Pakistan, and he said that we are brothers. We may be separated, but we are brothers, and we must give what is the right share. But the other two demands were even more important. What had happened was that uh, there was in the hatred that had been created at that time, people had taken over uh, uh, the the mosque in Connaught Place had been converted into a temple. The dargah in Mehroli had been converted into a temple by putting idols there. And he said that my Hindu faith will have no meaning for me if we have caused disrespect to people of any other faith. And he also said his last demand was that people had, refugees like my own family, Hindu and Sikh refugees had forced Muslims out of their homes and said you have to go into Pakistan. And he said we must call them back and return their homes to them. And this country belongs equally in every way to its Muslim citizens. And uh, the first day, uh, 10,000 people came out in his support. By the fifth day, there were 1 lakh people on the streets of Delhi supporting Mahatma Gandhi, and everybody had to accept his demands, including the Hindu Mahasabha. The mosques and the dargah were returned, the homes were returned, and it yeah, and the idea of India as a country which is based on love uh, was cemented at that time. But 2 weeks later, 3 bullets pierced into the frail body of Mahatma Gandhi during a prayer meet. And and when I look at India today, I wonder, was it foretold? Was it foretold that 70 years later, the ideology and the beliefs and the imagination for India of Mahatma Gandhi's assassin would, at least for a period, look as if it is triumphing in this land? So you know, let me run forward now to our present times, and why I say this is a time, yes, of celebration, but also of intense, somber reflection when we think about our freedom and what our freedom struggle was for and how deeply threatened it is. In 2000, this erosion has not happened only in the last 6 years. And I must say, and it must be acknowledged, that there has been, over the decades, various governments and the Congress party, the so-called secular parties, have many times, in many profound ways, failed and betrayed uh, the true legacy of the freedom struggle with various compromises. But it has reached a very decisive moment over the last 6 years. When Mr. Modi came to power in 2014, he spoke, I mean, he had a background of hard Hindu supremacist nationalism behind him in the 12 years that he had led Gujarat, since the Gujarat 2002 carnage. But he also spoke about jobs, he spoke about the economy, he made many promises about corruption. Uh, but those 5 years, if they are memorable for anything of the first term of his tenure, it is for the hardening of this project uh, of of Hindu nationalism, the creation of a Hindu Rashtra, in which there was, in a sense, an open declaration of war on our Muslim brothers and sisters. There was a political part of the project to render them politically uh, uh, irrelevant by uniting, in a sense, everybody else across caste and religious identity against the Indian Muslim. There was then a second part of the project, which was a social project, a project where hatred and hate speech and hate violence became normalized part of our social life, reflected most in a series of brutal lynchings in India, very much reminding us of the lynching of African Americans since the late 19th century up to the civil rights movement in the United States. And it was in response actually to this hatred that I proposed what we called a Karwane Mohabbat, or a caravan of love. And I said we would go to every home where anyone has been lynched in this country. And we would go like we would go to our own loved ones and say, we want you to know you're not alone. There are many people who care, who stand with you in this moment of your pain. We seek forgiveness for what we have become as a country. We, uh, we will stand with you in your battles for justice, and we will tell your story. And we made more than 30 such very, very painful journeys. The second term of Mr. Modi has, marks where, although the economy by now was at its worst, unemployment was at a 45-year high. It was clear that what was being offered this time was nothing but hard uh, Hindu nationalism, and he got an even larger vote share, and he saw this as a mandate to actually change India from the India written into our freedom, into our constitution, and reflecting the values of the freedom struggle. And a number of very quick steps happened. I don't have time to talk about them, but the triple talaq, Kashmir, the judgment around the Ram temple, and then as a climax was the change in citizenship laws, which for the first time brought the idea of religion. It was not a country that belonged equally to people of every faith any longer. And they believed that the country would accept it. But for 3 months, we saw uh, the country coming together in the most beautiful uh, moments of the journey of our republic, where students across campuses around the country, and led really by working class Muslim women, the country rose uh, in support of primarily the idea of love and solidarity, where the national anthem, the national flag, and the preamble of the Constitution became the icons of a protest of a kind that we have not seen uh, since Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. But it was not something that this government was willing to accept. We saw the violence in Northeast Delhi, the worst incident of criminal violence since partition, the worst Hindu-Muslim violence that we've seen. We had, of course, the anti-Sikh violence, which was even much more brutal. And then we had, of course, the Corona lockdown. And this period has now seen the crushing of this rebellion completely. People who had led the protests are now being charged with a conspiracy. My own name has appeared in a number of charge sheets. And a speech that I gave in Jamia Millia the day after the police went in is being described as a speech of hate. And so let me just end by recalling 2 or 3 things that I said in that speech. I would like to reiterate them. The first of them, I said, this is not a battle against a particular law. It's a battle about what kind of country we want to leave for our children. It is a battle about love, and it is a battle about our constitution. The second thing I said was that to my Muslim brothers and sisters and my young children who were there in the university in thousands, uh, very battered by the beating by the police in the library the night before, I said to them, after this, never, never allow anyone to, to ask you to prove your love for this country, least of all those who had never taken part in the freedom struggle. The rest of us, I said, were Indian by chance. My parents had no other country to choose. But your parents, your grandparents, actually in 1947 had a choice. They had a choice between choosing to go to Pakistan, which was founded on the idea of religion, or to stay in India, which was founded on the idea of equal respect for every faith. And they chose India. So you are Indian by choice, and we are Indian by chance. So if anyone has proved their love for this country, it is the Indian Muslim, and never allow anyone to challenge you for your love for this country. And the last thing I said was that this battle is not going to be resolved in Parliament, because our political parties have not shown the courage uh, of this battle. It will not be resolved in uh, in the Supreme Court, because uh, I have not seen the Supreme Court stand up with the courage, with the conviction to protect minorities as it needed to, in my opinion. I said it will be resolved by we, the people of India, who gave ourselves the constitution on the streets with non-violence and with love. But I said, finally, even more than this, it will be resolved in another place. And that place is my heart and in yours. Whether we have allowed hate and fear to colonize our hearts, or whether love and solidarity is what we fill our hearts with. Ultimately, this is a battle that will be resolved in your hearts and mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Harsh Mandir. I think you did an absolutely phenomenal job in terms of, highlighting the freedom fighters like Nehru and Maulana Azad, and compared to what we're seeing in India today. And you're absolutely correct that only by fixing our own hearts, only through love and solidarity, will we be able to see an India that is filled with love, in India that we stand together. So thank you so much for your words. And we have with us next Sister Aisha Rena, who is a prominent student face of the Pan-Indian protest against the Discriminatory Citizenship Amendment Act, fairly recent to such scale of activism. Deep inside, Aisha yearns for peace, but will not accept it at the cost of justice, her primary motive in soldiering on. She repeatedly reminds herself that she cares too much for her country to be a silent spectator to any form of injustice to anyone. She worked tirelessly with an NGO named Yes India, of which she is the current vice president in the upliftment of students in coastal North Kerala. We welcome you, Sister Aisha Rena, and we thank you for your work. Sister Aisha Rena.
Assalamu alaikum. I think I'm audible to all. So it's my pleasure to be a part of this program organized by Indian American Muslim Council on the occasion of this Independence Day. India celebrates, or I should say India almost celebrated its 73 years of independence today, because it's around 11 p.m. or something here in India. So it almost celebrated its 73 years of independence. And we are entering into the 74th year of independence in this year. But on this occasion, when we analyze this, or when we understand the conditions of the minorities in India, the freedom, independence, all this became a bit contradictory to what they are facing right now, or what they have been going through right now. Basically, I was born and brought up in South India, Kerala. It's been only 2 years since I moved to Delhi, and I have been actively participating in all this unconstitutional laws and unconstitutional measures taken by the Sangh Parivar government. So being August 15th, 1947 is always a special day to all Indians. Everywhere, from childhood to every time, even after being grown up, it's something so special to each and every one of us. Like, I remember when I was a child, from among my friends, like not knowing the date of independence was considered to be very shameful thing. So for us, when I was a child, independence was completely going to school, then we'll have flag hostings, we'll have small rallies, and all the sort of things. We'll have laddus and the things. But later growing up, starting to understand the society and started to move to the process of reading, I started realizing how fearlessly our forefathers fought to get or fought for this independence which we have been enjoying. I should say, I don't think that we are enjoying that freedom right now, but we have enjoyed that freedom earlier. So it's I should say that historically 1857 is considered to be the first independence movement, that the revolt of 1857 is considered to be the first independence movement. So from that to 1947, they have fearlessly fought the 90 years without moving a step or an inch back from that determination to attain independence from the world's largest or the world's most prominent colonizers of that time. So it's like they have been went through so many things. So many people were died, they were jailed, they were brutally attacked, they were brutally physically assaulted, and everything happened. But that all things never made them move a bit back from the path or back from the way which they have been moving ahead. All that finally gave us independence. But later, when we reach in the 74th year of independence, I think the condition of the Indian minorities are it's really in an pathetic manner under the Sangh Parivar government, which have been ruling here for almost 6 or something years. So
Can we hear Sister Aisha?
I think there was a big problem. So
Okay.
I'll move from where it was. Yeah. Indian Muslims was right now under the Sangh Parivar government, Indian minorities and especially the Indian Muslims, they are targeted based on their identity, what they believe, which God they believe, and what is their culture and everything. And along with that, the voices of the dissent were brutally suppressed in the way, which was in a way for them, or the Sangh Parivar government, in order to create an Hindutva Rashtra, which they have been, moving ahead with for so long. And this is, I from all that, though I'm very, young and I don't have so much experiences and all, but this is from all the readings and from all the things which I have learned, this is not the India which our forefathers have been fought fearlessly for and they dreamed of. They dreamed of an India which Nehru has already mentioned in his speech, India of unity and diversity. And India which is inclusive of all the cultures, all the beliefs and everything. But when we analyze the condition in which India going through right now, it's really contradictory to what have been our country is. Everywhere, I should say, I think I will be more speaking of from the experiences which I had gained within the short period of time. So in everywhere, Muslims are told to prove the patriotism, prove their love towards that country. And it's very contradictory with that. Indian Muslims are told to prove their patriotism by the people who had less role in the Indian freedom fighting movement or Indian freedom fighting struggle. So it's a really disturbing matter. Every time in my Twitter, my Facebook, I'm getting constant messages and everything's like, you go to Pakistan, Pakistan is your country, this is Hindu Rashtra, you're not supposed to be here. Who are they to tell me that this is not my country? I believe that Indian Muslims or the Muslims in India have decided to stay back in India when the partition occurred, and this is our country, and we have been born here and we will be definitely dying here also. And another thing which was scariest thing which happening in India about is that the lynchings and assault and all the abusive kind of things, that is mainly or especially based on their identity. Every day, and especially the condition in the north is much severe what I have came through. It's like every time an Indian Muslim is mainly targeted based on her identity, whether it's through the social media, whether it's through the physical presence, based on what they believe. Like I personally fear, because walking through the Delhis of the North India, one day I fear that someone will come and tell me to say Jai Sri Ram. When if I refuse to do that, definitely it's going to be the end of the mind. Very recent incident or the thing that happened to days back, like Shahid Tandri, he's an independent journalist of the Caravan. So he, along with his few friends, went for reporting in Delhi. So at that time, a certain group of people came. They asked for their names. They asked for the identity. When a moment they realized that Shahid is a Muslim, they started attacking him. Not only him, the people who supported him, there were his colleagues who tried to save him from that. They were also very brutally physically assaulted and physically beaten up. So this is the condition that's happening in India right now. Each and every Muslims' lives are in risk. Like they are being targeted based on their belief, their identity, and everything. One of the scariest thing in that incident which happened with Shahid is that the FIR is not launched yet. Even though they have complained that the police is not ready to launch the FIR yet.
I think we lost connection.
I'm sorry for having this continuous connection issues. Yeah. Can I carry on?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was the thing that happened with which I have been talking about Shahid. The FIR is not launched yet. And when Shahid was explaining about the things which he went through, he was telling, like one of the person was telling, like they got the freedom, actual freedom 6 years back only, which means they got the freedom to assault Indian minorities, assault Indian Muslims after the Sangh Parivar government coming into the power. It's really a dangerous thing that is happening in India. Other than that, I should say that today the criticizing the government is termed as criticizing a country, and whoever criticizes a government is termed as
Sister Aisha, we can't hear you again.
Whoever criticizing the government is termed as anti-national and terrorist. This is one of the most dangerous thing is to happen in a democratic country, that to the one of the largest democracies in the world. So a state should run according to the interest of the country. If a state is not running on the interest of the country, then the state should be definitely criticized and it should be questioned. That is what I believe. When India entering into the 74 year of independence, 2 day back, Prashant Bhushan, he was
Sister Aisha, you can continue.
Mute.
Action was taken against him for criticizing the judiciary. 2 days back, Shahid was, brutally attacked, and more to say, our friends who were fearlessly fought with us in the anti-CAA movement, they are still in the jail. They are under the jails with unevidential charges, which was many built up and made up and cooked up charges. They are in the jail. There is no evidences, and they have been charged with UAPA and various serious offenses. So through all these things, everyone has clear-cut informations, or we can clearly understand about what the freedom.
I'm hoping Sister Aisha will come back on in a little bit.
I'm sorry that it's
no problem.
Yeah. Independence which we have been reaching under the Sangh Parivar government. So even though I should say this openly, I don't have hope in this government. I have a clear hope in the citizens who have been fighting fearlessly without considering the religion, culture, and everything for this country. I have so much hope in them. Before summing up, I should say that the solidarities that coming from different parts of the world really helps us or motivates us in was very much excited about the Black Lives Matters movement that was happening in US and the solidarities and how it has been went ahead, it really gives us a hope that our struggle won't be in vain. So that's all. Though I'm really apologizing for the connection issues that was happening in between. I'm sorry for that. So that we fight and we shall win, inshallah. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Inshallah, your words have so much power, and we applaud you for the work that you do. And we saw that video of you and Sister Ladida, who will be next up, protecting your friend, and it went viral all over the world. People saw your courage and they look up to you. And you said that, there are times when you just yearn for peace and hope to move away from the movement, but you know that you can't stay silent. And we applaud you for all the work you do. Truly, you're an inspiration to other young girls as well. So thank you so much, Sister Aisha Rena. Next, we have with us Sister Ladida Farzana, who is a BA Arabic student of Jamia Millia Islamia. She hails from Kerala. She and Sister Aisha Rena, who we just had, became the face of the protest against CAA and NRC, the spark of the revolution across India against these acts. Their iconic photos and videos where they were shielding their friend from being beaten by the police has become viral across the world. We welcome Sister Ladida Farzana.
Hi all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It makes me very happy to be a part of a program organized by the Indian American Muslim Council, especially one that commemorates India's Independence Day. And I have been informed that Harshmandar sir is also a part of this program, and sharing a stage with him, even if it's virtual, is such a happy thing for me. And Indians in America have played a huge role in making strong interventions against the Citizenship Amendment Bill passed by the Indian Parliament, and the international solidarity protests that accompanied our protests in India have lent strength and courage to people like me. But the health emergency created by COVID-19 has halted our protest too, and there are no longer any protests on the street right now. Yeah, while the country follows COVID protocol, the government has been rounding up and arresting anti-CA protesters. That too with serious charges like UAPA and sedition. Branding students, activists as anti-nationals and traitors. We are well aware of the complexities that follow charges like UAPA. The accused can be jailed indefinitely, denied a court hearing without even knowing what they have been charged for. The questions of how to overcome this crisis is a very important matter for Muslims in India. The CAA, which meant that we were no longer ensured citizenship in our country, was a clear violation of our constitutional rights. So for us, this protest has been one for the right to live in our motherland, a motherland that is ruled by a party that asks us to go to Pakistan every time we try to speak about Muslims. A motherland that is ruled by a party whose leader said Goli Maro Salon ko means shooting them in speeches. So this moment is definitely a matter of existence for me. The Delhi program killed many people and hundreds have been wrongly jailed. So whatever frame we use to define the citizenship protest, everyone has a right to give the movement a different narrative. But personally, it will always be a fight for survival for me. Even the freedom fight I understood was like this. We have studied in school that the freedom fight was to free India of British colonialism and establish it as a republic. But a huge majority of the people that were a part of the freedom fight were there as a way of protesting against atrocities of the British Army. The truth is that the Indian Republic was born when the freedom fight became successful. But we haven't yet seen the India that the great leaders who led that fight imagined. We haven't known the India that is the constitution pictured. We haven't seen an India that upholds plurality. There is yet to be equal participation in the power structure of India. An ideal democracy is only successful when there is equal participation from all communities in the power structure. You know, have we seen an ideal power structure like that in India? Have we known a democracy like that in this country? Why is it that in all this time, such a model democracy has informed in India? Why have we not yet had a power structure that protects plurality and upholds it? These are questions that have been raised in every freedom fight. On each Independence Day, the minorities in India, the Muslims, the women, the Dalits, the Adivasis, we have had to reclaim our contribution to the freedom struggle. Why is it like that? We need to understand that since we got freedom, many communities that were a part of the fight, even led it, never got the recognition or position they deserved in this country. They have been erased from our textbooks, from our history even, set aside from our power structure, socially, politically, economically. Many communities that drove the freedom fight have been left out of the mainstream and relegated to back doors. That is the history of post-freedom India. The way things are, the way things have been, we need to constantly raise questions and demands for democracy that is inclusive, a democracy that is based on justice. As a student, I believe that as much as we celebrate independence, the idea of freedom must always be appraised critically. But if we can't critique an idea we celebrate, we can't evolve into a better democracy. If we cannot critique, we will find ourselves shrinking into existing boxes and boundaries. There is no growth there. And that is the problem we face today now. We don't have the right to dissent in India anymore. Any semblance of dissent or critique instantly makes one an anti-national or a traitor. When I came to Jamia Islamia to study, I only wanted to just study, to fit in there. But then with CAA and NRC, suddenly I had to fight and protest for existence. We had to get out on the streets. The protests at Delhi gained global attention, and now I am here talking in front of you at an event like this. What I have learned from that is life has a way of tossing at you into responsibilities you never planned for. And when that happens, it's up to us to do right by what we have been given, whether it is for our future, for our life, or for our existence. On that note, when speaking of freedom, we should not let freedom without justice pass. Without justice, freedom, democracy, peace, none of that is real. Justice should be our precondition for any of this. Until then, we cannot have democracy in its true value at all. All of our egalitarian concepts need to be based on the justice. That is the only way we can change our world. The youth can contribute so much to that change. So, what I want to say before I stop is say what you need to say, criticize what needs to be criticized, and disagree with what you can't agree to. Inshallah. Once again, thank you so much for having me as a part of your event. And if you have any disagreements to what I said, I'm always ready to listen, to discuss, and to debate it. I look forward to that kind of creative engagement, inshallah. And thank you so much. Thank you to the organizers, especially the Indian Society in the US for hosting me, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
What a wonderful speech. What a powerful speech by Sister Ladida Farzana. And we thank her for her work as well. Next, we have Brother Ahsan Khan, who is the president of Indian American Muslim Council at the national level with dozens of local chapters in major cities across the USA, to introduce Pramila Jayapal and also give his remarks. Brother Ahsan Khan.
Thank you, Sister Amina, for the introduction. I would like to congratulate you, our IAMC youth leader, for emceeing this program wonderfully. Thank you so much. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon all of you. I'm pleased to welcome you all to celebrate India's 74th Independence Day. First, I would like to thank our renowned activist, Mr. Harsh Mandar Sahab, for his detailed remarks and his work on Karwan-e-Mohabbat. Ms. Ladida Farzana and Ms. Aisha Raina for their great work and for coming together for this event. I would also like to thank our coalition partners, Hindus for Human Rights, especially Mr. Raju Raj Gopal Sahab and Sunita ji, Ms. Sujata Ramni from Coalition of Seattle Indian Americans, Mr. Anil Wagde from Ambedkar International Center for their participation. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the organizers of this event for beautifully carrying out this program. Thank you all, and I wish you all a very happy Independence Day. Before I share my remarks, I'm elated to first share with you a message from Honorable Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from Washington's 7th Congressional District on this occasion of India's independence. Congresswoman Jayapal is a rising star in the United States Congress and the first Indian American woman to serve in the US Congress. I would like to thank her for sending her message to Indian American Muslim Council on this auspicious occasion of Independence Day. Organizers can please share the video now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Pramila Jayapal, and I'm proud to represent Washington's 7th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives. As many of you know, I am the first South Asian American woman ever elected to the House of Representatives, the only Indian American woman to serve in the U.S. House, and one of only 14 naturalized citizens currently in Congress. And it's an exciting time to be an Indian American in our government. The very same night in 2016 that I became the first South Asian American woman elected to the House, Kamala Harris became the first South Asian American woman elected to the Senate. And now she is the first Indian American and first Black woman to be on a major party's presidential ticket. I am so proud to be a daughter of both the greatest democracies on earth, each with its own history of hard-won independence, each a beautiful tapestry of cultures full of contradictions and complications. The American story, the Indian story, and the immigrant story is just like that, complicated, but full of triumph and resilience too. For those of you who don't know my immigration story, I was born in Chennai and spent my childhood in India, Singapore, and Indonesia. In 1995, I returned to India and lived in villages for 2 years. I went to the Upper Peninsula. I went to Kerala, to Ladakh. I traveled the whole country. That time allowed me to connect more deeply with my roots, own my origin story, and find my history. I even learned Hindi, much to my mother's chagrin, since I was from the South, and I could only understand, not even speak Malayalam. Ultimately, I thought a lot about where I was from and who I was. That's a question that so many of us have grappled with and continue to weigh in our minds. As so many immigrants know, our hearts often live between two places across continents. We live in the hyphen that intersects our many identities. As Indian American Muslims, I know you all feel that too. So as you reflect today on India's independence from the United Kingdom, I hope you will remember that much like American independence, it was an imperfect project, not without controversy, dissent, or complications that linger today. Let this day be a time to reaffirm the democratic, pluralistic principles on which our countries were founded. Right now, hate crimes are threatening Muslims in India, and Muslims in America face a leader who has tried to ban them from the country they call home. Just last month, I acted in opposition to President Trump's Muslim ban by helping to pass the No Ban Act through the House. Likewise, I'm proud to have been speaking out for the rights of minorities in India since I first took office. As you might know, I introduced a bipartisan resolution calling on the Indian government to uphold basic human rights in Jammu and Kashmir. It asked the government to lift its communications blackout, end detention without charges, and respect religious freedom. I also spoke out against Prime Minister Modi's citizenship law that excludes Muslim migrants from a new pathway to citizenship, an unprecedented break from India's secular constitution. Taken together with the National Register of Citizens, I fear that this citizenship law could be used to prevent Muslim migrants from becoming citizens and voting. But in response, dozens of American lawmakers took a courageous stand by signing on to my resolution. This didn't appear out of nowhere. It was all of you, activists, stakeholders in immigrant communities, and your organization all deserve credit for your advocacy. You are the people-powered force that informs us and backs us up at the congressional level. I know that sometimes it may feel like the tides working against you are too strong. But if there's anything I have found as an immigrant, advocate, and woman of color, it is that nothing is stronger than committed and passionate people working together to do good and deliver justice. It is more important now than ever to elevate and celebrate human rights, equality, and religious freedom. I know all of you are committed to this work. Thank you for all you do as members of our community. Your voices are so needed and necessary in these unprecedented times. I will not stop fighting for justice for Muslims here and in India, and I know you won't either. Happy Independence Day and blessings and peace to everyone.
Thank you, Congresswoman Jaipal. Before I continue, I would like to share a couplet with all of you. It is in Urdu, which says, "Hai mohabbat is watan se, hai mohabbat is watan se, apni mitti se hame, apni mitti se hame, isliye apna karenge, jano tan qurban hum." It says that we are so much bounded to our country that we can sacrifice our lives for our country. As we reflect upon these 74 years, I'm filled with pride in all that India has accomplished, starting with very humble beginnings in the early independence years to a technological powerhouse and its immense engineering and scientific talent pool, and also human resources brimming with potential and ready to lead India through the 21st century. Yet, what gives me more pride is our rich history and shared struggles of Indians from all walks of life and communities who came together in the struggle for independence. Let me dwell a little bit into the history here, starting with the first war of independence in 1857, when Indians came together under the leadership of Bahadur Shah Zafar, to the subsequent campaign by Mahatma Gandhi. Indians have time and again demonstrated the power of our unity and shared values. Mahatma Gandhi's campaign drew stalwarts, including Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. We pay tributes to all the heroes who laid down their lives in this struggle, from revolutionary Shahid Bhagat Singh to brave Tipu Sultan Shahid, whose courage in the fight for independence is unparalleled in Indian history. The struggle for India's independence was grounded in the vision of a pluralistic India blossoming in the rich diversity of its people and a beacon of democracy that endows all its citizens to achieve their fullest potential. The recent times have no doubt tested our mettle with the upheavals brought upon by the new ordinances that risk splintering our biggest asset, which is our unity. Yet, I have faith in the centuries-old bonds that Indians have forged, and we shall most certainly overcome today's challenges to build new bonds of unity and trust. Our unity and solidarity is now once again put to test in the struggle against the global coronavirus pandemic. One of the most important things is that this virus does not discriminate against religious or communal boundaries. And as we struggle in the fight against COVID-19 virus, we must stand compassionate at these times, for only the time-tested Indian values of unity in the face of struggle can defeat this faceless enemy. Brothers and sisters, we stand in solidarity with all the families who lost their loved ones becoming the victim of this disease. As recently we lost Mr. Rahat Indori Sahab, a great Shair, and I'm sure there are many others too. May their souls rest in peace. And we stand with their families in this difficult hour. Brothers and sisters, at this critical hour, we must not forget that India is battling rising tide of casteism, communalism, discrimination against minorities and women, and economic and social inequalities. These are threats just as potent as the virus and threatens to annihilate all the progress we have made in the years since independence. We at Indian American Muslim Council are committed to staying steadfast in the struggle for peace, pluralism, and social justice. That's our main objective. That's our main mission. I call upon all Indians to come together in our shared struggle against racism and discrimination that divides us, to build a more inclusive, pluralistic, and tolerant India, and be guided by the wisdom of Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "For me, the different religions and races are beautiful flowers from the same garden, or they are branches from the same majestic tree." I repeat, the same majestic tree. Brothers and sisters, I would like to now conclude with another share, which says that, "Ay khake watan, ab to wafaon ka sila de. Ay khake watan, ab tu wafaon ka sila de. मैं टूटती सांसों की फसीलों पे खड़ा हूँ. मैं टूटती सांसों की फसीलों पे खड़ा हूँ." I would like to congratulate all of you for a very happy Independence Day, and thank you all for the great work on this occasion. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ahsan Khan, for the work that you do and for your leadership in Indian American Muslim Council. Next, we have with us Sister Sujata Ramani, who is ex-techie, works on enabling market access for small farmers in India. We'd like to welcome Sister Sujata.
Good morning, good evening to my brothers and sisters in India. Assalamu alaikum, vanakkam, jai bhim. Thank you to IAMC and all my Muslim brothers and sisters for having me with you and giving me the honor of speaking today. All these years, I have considered myself a family of the Muslim community. But since December, I feel like we are Siamese twins, inextricably joined together in our determination and hopes for our two beloved countries, India and the USA. As a child, I loved Independence Day because it would be sports day at school. And if it fell on a weekday, even better, because we didn't have to sit in class. We would get chocolates and medals. But, you know, we have moved on from childhood, and few months ago, I watched a movie on Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar by the filmmaker Jabbar Patel. There is a scene in which Lala Lajpat Rai urges Babasaheb to join him in the Indian struggle for independence. Babasaheb looks at Lajpat Rai and asks him, "Independence for whom?" The notion of understanding of freedom takes on new meanings as we all grow up. I have come to realize that as a nation, we have not been able to realize the cherished dream of equality, liberty, and fraternity to all of our people. Instead, in the past few years, the monster of Brahmin supremacy has encroached every sphere of life and has not only subjugated people across caste boundaries, but has also made systemic oppression of all Muslims a norm today. In the light of that, Brother Ibrahim asked me to speak about what we have been doing in Seattle, especially as solidarity during the times of COVID. Our group is called CSIA, the Coalition of Seattle Indian Americans. We started as a group of Muslims, Dalits, Sikhs, upper caste Hindus, and also the LGBTQ community who started protesting every weekend from December when the CAA NRC was passed. None of us had long experience mobilizing, and many of us had not been politically active prior to this. It was a big turning point for us, both in terms of action, and all the protests we organized helped us meet like-minded people and forge a new set of friendship and ties, as we could not sit quietly in our social groups that either supported these laws or were silent about them. We had our first taste of success when our mobilizing under the leadership of fearless and committed people like Council Member Kshama Sawant helped Seattle legislative body pass the first resolution condemning the CAA anywhere in the world. We mobilized around the Delhi pogrom, and soon after the COVID crisis began, started working on community initiatives around food, rental assistance, and other financial help. We also raised money to buy 3,000 reusable masks for a local school district. In India, we sent money for COVID relief, especially after the disastrous policies of the abrupt lockdown causing unimaginable hardship to the migrant workers and their families. We were planning a march in solidarity with migrant workers here in Seattle, but we could not do that due to the lockdown requirements at the time. On the local front, we also joined the movement of working class people to raise progressive taxes to fight homelessness and provide funding for COVID relief, called the Tax Amazon movement. This resulted in a payroll tax on the largest businesses in the city of Seattle to fund housing, health, small business loans, and other measures to help those affected badly in the pandemic. On May 24th, George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, triggering nationwide protests. We joined thousands of people in protests, both physical and virtual, emails to local leaders condemning the police brutalities and the violence unleashed on peaceful protesters in Seattle, very similar to what we have been seeing before in India. With more than 3 months of calls, emails, and public comments to the city of Seattle, it culminated in the city budget slashing some money from the police budget and banning the use of violent methods to quell protests. We are currently engaged in bringing down a growing Hindutva group in the area and anti-caste work, including helping other groups mobilize for the Cisco caste discrimination case. Reflecting on each of these, my understanding of freedom and independence in democracy has definitely nuanced over the years. American and Indian societies are each other's analogs. While democracies are definitely set in constitutions, as a society, we are all very much a work in progress. Liberty, equality, and fraternity are goals we still have to achieve. It is a promise that we must dedicate and commit ourselves to on this day. Jai Bhim, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sister Sujata, for speaking with us and for describing the work that you're doing. It's truly phenomenal, the work that you do. And we also, I'm just going to actually hand it out to Brother Ibrahim, who will be speaking about IAMC outreach and the work that's being done by the Indian American Muslim Council. Brother Ibrahim.
Thank you so much, Sister Amina. So let me go here. So we just wanted to kind of spend a couple of minutes, and I know we have two more, very prominent speaker coming up from Hindu Human Rights, Brother Raju, and from Ambedkar International Circle, Brother Anil Bhai. So, but I would just take a few minutes on what we have done as IAMC, from the COVID relief programs with various partners. So this first particular event was in Irving, Texas, the IAMC chapter, where we worked with ICNA Relief and tried to basically supply food, necessary elements during the this pandemic times. And again, this is the time where we need to go and help our society. So thank you for the Irving, Texas IMC chapter team here, and they are doing a fantastic job. Next one is New York IMC chapter. So the New York IMC chapter collaborated with FAIR, another Federation of American Indian Relief, and also we helped many medical centers and hospitals in that area to supply the PPE equipments, the protected equipments, against the coronavirus for the first responders. And as you can see, IMC and obviously the fair got a recognition from Senator Kevin Thomas, right? So it's a great achievement for the partners and allies of IMC, and more than 100 IMC volunteers came together to raise the money and provide the supplies. So great work, New York IMC chapter. Next one again, the New York IMC chapter worked with food distribution with Nassau County Asian American Affairs, and again also they collaborated with Islamic Center of Long Island to basically supply the food and make sure in this tough times how can we help some of our brothers and sisters who are not able to work, and they are not all that favorable to work from home, and they don't have any jobs. So again, thank you, New York IMC chapter, for providing this help. Also, there was a recognition, for the New Jersey IMC chapter for again doing the donations to multiple hospitals, as I said. And you can see these are the articles from various newspapers, and again, it was a great effort from the team to make sure our first responders are safe, to make sure they are protecting us. So I wish and I hope that Almighty help us in fighting this pandemic. Also, New Jersey chapter did the donations to the police department. Not only the PPE equipments and supplies, but also some food in these crazy times where our police is working over day and night, and how we can help them. Again, this was the article we got published and recognized that how IMC is helping various elements of societies. And lastly, but not the least, as Sujata said, the CSIA, the Coalition of Seattle Indian, IMC Seattle chapter is very, very closely working with CSI in many activities, and CSIA took a lead in Seattle to help out as well. So as you can see, CSI, with help of IMC, were able to deliver 3,000 masks to the Bellevue School District, as well as CSI was in lead to have a fundraising for almost close to 10K, where we were trying to help some of the member of the community to start their own businesses and give some help where they can start in this difficult time. So again, thank you, CSI, for taking the leadership and making a difference in the community. So with that, I will hand it over to Sister Amina. Thank you.
Yes, and I think I will be presenting my Shaheen Bagh campaign, Our Art as Resistance, in honor of Shaheen Bagh campaign. I spoke to you guys a little bit introducing the phenomenal guests that we have today, but for the next 5 minutes, I want to talk to you about a campaign that started when, I believe it was last year, when I went to Cincinnati with Indian American Muslim Council for a fundraiser. And there I met a woman who is incredibly inspirational. She's been an activist for count so many years now, and she's a woman who's inspired and motivated me through this journey of activism, the founder of Hindus for Human Rights and Sadhna, Sunita Vishwanath. And huge shout out to Suni for just kind of coming up with this idea. And basically what had happened was her friend had submitted a piece, right? An art piece, an artist in Mexico City. And I think if we go to some of the slides, we can see the pieces that we've collected, and it's the piece right in the middle there. So she showed me this piece, and I think it's on the next slide. Yeah. the piece right in the middle with the Indian flag up there. And she showed me this piece that her friend had gave to her. And she said that I want to do something more, right? I have this piece, it's incredible and the talent is evident, but I feel like we should do more. And we brainstormed and came up with the idea of using art to show solidarity with the Shaheen Bagh protesters, to show solidarity for the women in Shaheen Bagh. And I reached out to people in my school, in my own network, and my school isn't very diverse, so I didn't get much feedback and much response there. So I thought again, and I said, where do I have my resources? And I went to Twitter, and Twitter has a large art community, and I think this is another example of how we can use social media for good. And I reached out to hundreds of artists there, and people started responding. We started getting art from the international community, slowly but surely. But then COVID-19 hit, right? And these protests in the physical form were shut down. And that's where Sunita and I reconnected, and we said that even though these protests are shut down right now, we are going to continue this campaign to show that the international community is there with the Shaheen Bagh women. And I think if you go to the next slide, these slides only have some of the pieces we've collected. There are so many more, but we wanted to show solidarity for the women of Shaheen Bagh. And I think with these pictures, you can see how they're displayed as powerful. If we go to the next slide, we can see some more pieces as well of artists from Botswana, from Canada, from the UK, from Germany, from Sweden, from Mexico City, Brazil, Pakistan, all of these different places. And I didn't even imagine that we would get to a level where this becomes an international campaign. But, through this coalition of IAMC and Hindus for Human Rights, we were able to show that. And, we were getting in all of these pieces, just, tremendous amounts of pieces. And we said that obviously this is a diaspora effort, but we want to grow this more. So we reached out to activists on the ground in Shaheen Bagh. And something that gave me goosebumps was them telling us that these pieces are inspiring them, that they are motivating and encouraging them. And it was like these artists are creating these pieces because they are inspired by these, Shaheen Bagh women, and these women are saying that these pieces are encouraging them. It's truly phenomenal. And, one of the things that stuck with me was when one of the women protesters, I told her, Shaheen Bagh is at a pause right now. Shaheen Bagh is not going on right now, but, we want to show that we are there with you. We are there with you. We show solidarity with you. And she told me that you're wrong. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, Shaheen Bagh is not even, the Shaheen Bagh was never these physical protests. So Shaheen Bagh has not stopped. She told me that Shaheen Bagh ek soch hai, right? Shaheen Bagh is a way of thinking. It is a mindset, a revolutionary mindset that we're seeing in India right now, with the support of the international community. And we see this through art. And I think through some of these pictures, you can truly tell that a picture is worth 1,000 words, where these women are seen as powerful, that, it truly displays two of the things in Shaheen Bagh that is different from other protests. That number one, this is led by Muslim women, right? By women who weren't involved in politics, women who are the common people, right? Some of them come from lower class, and that is what this protest is led by. And the second thing is that there's no face to Shaheen Bagh, right? These protests have done so successfully, is not put a face to them. This is the people of India coming together to protest fascism and to advocate for democracy and secularism. I think if you go to the next slide, there's a couple more pictures. But this is our campaign of solidarity, to show that we stand with these women. And before I end today, I would like to recite two verses of a shairi from Rahat Indori, Allah yarhamhu. He passed away a couple of days ago, and he wrote this some 35 years ago. And today it has become a rallying cry at anti-CAA protests. And he said in regards to this verse, like a crop rises again, these words have risen again. And I'd just like to read these two verses. He said, "Sabhi ka khoon shamil hai yahan ki mitti mein. Sabhi ka khoon shamil hai yahan ki mitti mein. Kisi ke baap ka Hindustan thodi hai." Which means everyone's blood is mixed in this land. India is not the property of anyone's father. And we stand with that. We stand that India is a country that accepts all people. And through Shaheen Bagh and through this campaign, we saw the solidarity from the international community, from the artist community. So first of all, I would like to thank all of those who have contributed. And this campaign is still open. So if you'd like to submit a piece, you don't need to be professional. I've just been getting pieces in the morning as well. Just got a couple emailed to me and some through Twitter. So we're still active, we're still going, and we ask you to show your solidarity as well. Thank you so much. One moment. And next up, we have with us Raju. Just give me one moment to exit out of the campaign. So Raju Rajagopal, who is a part of Hindus for Human Rights, he's an activist. He does a lot of phenomenal work and has spent his years advocating against human rights violations in India. Let me just pull up his bio so I can read the full thing. So he has spent over 2 decades working with civil society groups in India, has been active on a range of issues such as rural development, disaster management, governance and transparency, communal harmony, and human rights. He shares his time between Berkeley, California, and Chennai, India, and writes on social causes. Prior to engaging with the nonprofit sector, he spent over 3 decades in the corporate world, retiring as the chief operating officer of a publicly traded healthcare company in the United States. Brother Raju Rajagopal has done phenomenal work, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome him.
Thank you, Amina, for that introduction, and thank you, Indian American Muslim Council, for organizing this wonderful event. It's an honor to be with you all to share a few thoughts on our homeland, especially directed to all those Indians today who are hoisting the Indian tricolor and singing Jana Gana Mana. I was privileged to be born just 6 weeks after independent India was born. And in many ways, my journey has mirrored the country's extraordinary journey of 73 years. Despite having spent a major part of my life here in the United States, I can truly say, using Tony Bennett's iconic line, that I left my heart in eternal India. The fact that we Indian Americans of all faiths and ideologies spend so much energy to work for and speak for India, and even fight about India, is itself a testimony that many of you too have left your hearts in India. COVID-19 has caused enormous distress all over the world, but its impact will be particularly severe in India, whose economy rests on the shoulders of the poorer working class and migrant labor. A friend from Bangalore told me yesterday that over 10,000 businesses and 400 eating establishments have already shut down permanently. I'm sure you've heard similar sad stories from many other parts of India. But in a silver lining, the virus has also brought the urban middle class to engage more honestly and directly with the normally invisible working class. My friend, for instance, is working harder than ever to provide home banking services to millions of migrant workers back in their own villages who are unable to travel outside their villages to distant banks and ATMs. Another friend from Chennai took over an abandoned factory within days of the arrival of COVID and started manufacturing PPEs. He also requisitioned hundreds of two-wheeler helmets for a local hospital to help them tide over the lack of face shields. The images of thousands of migrant families trudging back towards their distant homes will forever be etched in our collective memories, but so will the memories of hundreds of local citizen groups gearing up at a short notice to supply them with food and water for days and weeks. Now, we've all seen many, many troubling images of the police beating up largely Muslim protesters in Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. But there are also some examples of police humanity. For example, the Chennai police got to know that a train with Tamil Nadu workers was on their way back south with no arrangements for food. They sent word to the Andhra Pradesh police, who pleasantly surprised the travelers at the next station with packets of food, an act of kindness from an unexpected quarter. Now, such anecdotes may seem like small islands of hope in the middle of major disasters, both natural and man-made. But our honored guests today from India exemplify much, much more as they risk their own safety on all of our behalf. As we honor them today, let's also recognize that compassion from ordinary citizens have always existed in our society. And it's really up to all of us to amplify and defend those voices and link them together into larger islands of hope and action. The question today in many people's minds is what awaits India at the end of the COVID tunnel in its 74th year. Will Indians be more caring and gentler and take a civic lesson from the virus, which did not care whether you're rich or poor, Hindu or Muslim, or Christian or Dalit? Will we seize the new windows of opportunity to work for ending the surging violence against Muslims and other minorities? Will we recognize the immorality of locking up an entire people in Kashmir in pursuit of the jingoistic aims of just a few? Will we decry the arrest and harassment of scores of citizens for merely exercising their right to question the government and the courts? I wish I could confidently say, yes, we will. Unfortunately, there are too many troubling signs of brewing storms that threaten to inundate even those small islands of hope. What can we do about it? My plea is make ourselves an active part of what I would call India's second struggle for independence. Let's do our bit to free India from communal hatred, from ultra-nationalism that sees some Indians as more equal than others, from corruption that's eating away our souls, and from caste discrimination that continues to haunt us decades after a most egalitarian constitution was adopted. Be part of the renewed anti-CAA protests when they begin to happen again in the public. As we salute India, let's think again about the significance of our national flag: strength and sacrifice, peace, prosperity, and Dhamma. And let's move forward with courage and peace in our hearts and nonviolence as our guide to action. Today, more than ever, I'm reminded of Abraham Lincoln's words in 1858, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." Those prescient words seem as relevant to the people of America today as it is to all Indians. As I turn 73, the aches and pains are already reminding me that there is a finite end to each productive human life. But India's multi-religious and pluralistic experiment at 73 is but an infant, requiring a lot of love and care. We must not inflict so much trauma upon her that she may never grow into a mature and functioning adult capable of loving all her children equally. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Happy Independence Day. Jai Hind and Jai Bhim.
Thank you so much, Brother Raju, for your wise words and for your pieces of advice that you gave us. Next, and I think our final speaker today is Brother Anil Wagde. He has held senior positions in Infosys, Capgemini, and CSS Corp. Anil is leading the fight for reservation in PhD at IAM Ahmedabad. He's an activist and has helped in galvanizing anti-CAA NRC protests at Atlanta with Muslim and Ambedkarite organizations, a diversity activist who believes that excluded minorities, women, and Dalits can contribute immensely to the society if integrated well in the society. Brother Anil, we welcome you. Thank you so much for all the work you do.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you for inviting me to the celebration of India's independence. Happy Independence Day to all. It is an honor to be in the company of Sri Harsh Mandar and other dignitaries. I am proud to represent Ambedkar International Center to this event. Let me start with a provocative question. When will we have Kamala Harris from Dalit or Muslim community? All of us are aware and proud that a woman of Indian heritage has been chosen as a vice presidential candidate. The question I have for all of us here is, when will we have our own Kamala Harris? I attended a seminar recently with Professor Kevin Brown, an authority on caste and race. He told vociferously that Dalits, especially back home in India, are not promoting their women. The Dalit movement remains a citadel of men. If we deny access to our women, we are 50% less strong. We need to promote our women in various fields, provide them the access, exposure, let them participate in debates, get higher education and take up jobs. Let them conquer the political space. We need our own Ilhan Omar, Rashida Talib joining the mainstream here in US and of course back in India. After all, who led Shaheen Bagh? Women can bring change. Maybe in a few years, we will have our own women representatives in Congress and Senate, and even a president one day. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar had said, I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress women have achieved. Thanks Ayesha Rena and Ladida for providing the leadership, and we need many more of you. Let me talk about another recent news, not so proud for us Indians. Many of us would have heard of the Cisco caste discrimination case. Castes are unwanted import from India here to the US. Castes are pervasive in Indian subcontinent across religions. We refuse to acknowledge. While talking about caste, we need to ask and support the demand of reservation, affirmative action for Dalit Muslims and Dalit Christians. The people at the bottom of the pyramid have fire in their belly to change the status quo. We should acknowledge the problem and make sure that we work to correct these imbalances in our respective religions. Lack of representation in organized sector is a huge problem for Dalits and Muslims. Lot of problems are common between Dalits and Muslims. We collated data on faculty reservation in IAMs. There is not a single Muslim faculty member in IIM Calcutta. That's my alma mater. There are less than 10 scheduled caste faculty members in top 10 IIMs. We must encourage and support education, especially higher education in our communities, so that these higher education institutions are not exclusive preserve of a few, and they become diverse. These institutions become diverse and inclusive. On this Indian Independence Day, it is necessary to take a stock of the situation in India. From 1947 till today, have we made progress? Today, BJP is spreading hatred, and there are so many instances that I do not know where to start. Delhi riots, scandalizing Tablagi Jamaat, Dr. Kafil Khan, Jammu and Kashmir fake encounters, and lynchings all over India. How do we ensure that the human rights are respected? The space for dissent exists. Heritage of diverse India is preserved. The institutions built over past 60 to 70 years are being destroyed. The public sectors built, developed for becoming self-reliant are being sold. Institutions like Election Commission, CAG, press are being destroyed. Less said about the current judiciary, the better. People are in jails without bail during this corona pandemic. Dr. Kafil Khan, IPS officer Sanjeev Bhatt, eminent scholars like Dr. Anand Teltumde, Ms. Sudha Bhardwaj, Rona Wilson, Jammu and Kashmir leaders are in jails. And unfortunately, Prashant Bhushan, my hero, an eminent human rights lawyer, might be put in jail. The government has indeed left things Ram Bharose during this pandemic. We need government that is responsive to people's needs and aspirations, and not that manages the headlines. We need government that is interested in hospitals and not in temples. What can we do? A small suggestion, we need to build our own media. Come every election and we say, had we had our own media, we would have been able to spread our message. We need to counter the narrative spread by BJP. We have very few voices like Ravish Kumar, Prosun Bajpayee, Dhruv Rathi, The Wire, etc. Can we build our own media? Can we invest and promote our own media so that come elections, we are not found wanting? I would like to conclude by stating what Babasaheb Ambedkar said: educate, unite, and agitate. Thank you once again for providing this opportunity to speak along with eminent and respected speakers. Jai Bhim.
Thank you so much, Brother Anil, for your suggestions as well. I think we definitely need to take them in account. And thank you again for the work you do. And I will be handing it over to Brother Ibrahim now.
Thank you, Brother Anil, Brother Raju, and other speakers, and thank you, Sister Amina. So let's spend some time, for some awards and the competitions we arranged as part of the 74th Independence Day celebration. So we had two categories. One was essay writing, and one was, having some creative videos on different topics suggested, there. So we received, overwhelmingly entries into these two competitions, and we have dozens and dozens of essays and videos, and it's very amazing to see the creativity and how especially the youth and the kids are trying to cope up with the challenges we have, starting from having a real freedom up to the COVID-19, and we have like a very great potential for next generation to lead the nation here and back in India. So as you can see, there are various essays, and especially the one which caught my eye, from different languages from all over the world, was from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's quote, right? How equality is so critical, how we can be free from the casteism. And that is one of the key, I would say the issue right now, which is happening everywhere in India. So how can we fight? And not only just India, it is happening, in West as well, as you can see from the quote from Brother Anil of the case in Bay Area for one of the corporations. So with that, such amazing entries, so we had a very difficult time to judge and find the best, but we have to do that. So these are some of the oops, hold on, give me 1 second here. There we go. So these are some of the video clippings as well. So we also got very, very good videos as well from the kids, and we have kind of compiled some key snippets, and you go through that. So let me start this.
I am glad to be a part of Indian American Muslim Council Independence Day contest. This very vast and beautiful country, rich in culture and heritage. I am proud to be Indian. Jai Hind! We are isolated, yet we are together to defeat Corona. Stay home, stay safe, stay positive. We must get through this hard time. Thank you, doctors and nurses, for all you do. Janahana Jayage Bharata Bhatya Vidada. We are as strong as we are united, and as weak as we are divided.
मैं आप सबके सामने ये कविता सुनाना चाहती हूँ, जिसका नाम है माँ जा कहाँ रहा है हम.
That was 15th of August, a rainy day. That was 15th of August, a rainy day. Others might have forgotten, but never can I. Unity and diversity is the most important thing in our culture.
Amazing videos from these kids, and I'm sure they'll become the great leaders of next generation. So with that, we had a very tough task to pick the awards, but anyways we have to choose it. So we actually doubled the number of awards. Instead of giving total 6 awards, we decided to make it 12. So the first category is in the video award. So again, the parents who are watching, we will contact you individually to for the further communication and make sure you receive the awards. So the first category in the video was a lower elementary, and the third prize goes to Radha Krishna. So congratulations, Radha Krishna, for your creative message there. Second goes to Maz Ali Khan. Congratulations, Maz Ali Khan, for your contributions. And the first prize goes to Vian Venkatesh. So again, great effort by everybody. And again, unfortunately, we cannot give awards to everyone, but we have picked the best. But it was a very, very tough competition. Then the next one is the upper elementary to middle school. So again, we gave 3 awards there. So third goes to Siddhant. So Siddhant, congratulations on your nice music video, what you submitted. Second goes to Fatima Rania. So congratulations, Fatima, for your contributions. And the first prize goes to Akshaya Padmakrishnan. So again, congratulations to everybody who participated. Congratulations to everyone who received the awards, who will reach out to you individually to make sure you receive your awards. The next category is essay. So again, we had a very tough time. We had so many essays, dozens and dozens of essays. We received amazing handwritings, amazing message, amazing communication. I'm just thrilled to see how today's generation is being thinking. So Again, in that we had 2 categories. So one is juniors. So the third prize goes to Akshay Padmakrishnan. Second goes to Simra Azmi. And the first prize goes to Sania Nadim. So again, congratulations, all of you. Great writing, great messages. And it was just thrilled, our judges got thrilled with all the messages, all the essays, what we received. The next category is the seniors, also there. So third one, again, we had, as I said, we had a very tough time to pick the, the winners, right? So they are so close. So we had to give third prize to 2 individuals, Momin Misbah and Saria Afshin. So congratulations, both of you. The second prize goes to S. Kartiga, and the first one goes to Rayan Faisal Samdani. So again, congratulations, everyone. You have done fantastic job. Keep doing what you're doing. This is needed, especially in today's challenging times. So with that, we are kind of coming to the conclusion. I would like to, first of all, again, thank you everybody for joining the event. Thank you for all of our speakers, especially starting with our Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal to send us that special message. Then we have, a brother Harshmander, who is one of the greatest activists we know. And again, we call him, the modern Gandhi of this era. So basically, thank you for your speech, your time, and as well as the face of CAA and RC, right? Sister Aisha and Sister Ladida. I think they have started the movement, and triggered it all over the world. So again, without them, I don't know where we would have been. Then we had our president of IAMC. Thank you, Brother Ahsan, for giving such a powerful message. And then we had CSIA, Sujata, Sister Sujata. Thank you for your contributions as always. And obviously, Brother Raju from Hindu Humans, and plus Brother Anil from the Ambedkar International Circle. And lastly, but not the least, great MC by our sister Anima. And basically, we are grateful to have the youth leader like you. And I hope, we will see you more and more. So before I close the call, I would like to use one quote from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who wrote the Constitution. And basically what Dr. Babasaheb said, however good the Constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are not good, it will prove to be bad. So this is exactly what is happening today. Our Constitution is very well written, very nice, but the ones who are implementing, they are not. So how to fix this problem? So I think our youth generation needs to be in the position to implement that Constitution, which means that you have to become the leaders. You need to work in the public service. You need to be in the politics right here in United States of America, as well as back in India. So with that, I wish you again a very happy Independence Day, and basically, enjoy the day and make sure, we are making some resolutions to counter the current challenges we are facing everywhere. So with that, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you.